Okay. Good work. We got, so we got this attorney here, and he's back there. We're going to go ahead and let him address us on the issue we have with Mr. Pruitt. You had the question, I think, and the mayor, and Mr. Bailey come in here and talk to us about
How are y'all?
Hey, Darren.
Hey, how's everybody?
Good.
Good.
If I may just reference, once Glenn expressed the desire that we frankly been talking about for a year, how we hold these parents more accountable, and we came with that model to try to push it into an ordinance. It was pretty obvious that we could not, in and of itself, as a city, have much influence because most of these issues are county issues, not just court issues. And I talked to the district attorney about that and how we might do some better job, even at the police department's level, to try to do an additional investigation to be able to give them some additional information to use existing statutes to be able to do a little more than what we've been able to do. So the desire is there, and perhaps with some streamlines that he will talk about and some additional efforts on our part, and maybe a tweak here that we might could accomplish a little bit more, because the MPD, and once Daryl is finished, I'd like for our people to tell you about what we're doing at the rave that we've just started that's having some success, and he's aware of that as well. So,
Yeah, we've worked on that, and I agree. I think it's been successful. I have read the Georgia ordinance, and here's my concern off the top that I am not supportive of, and I assume that y'all aren't either, but I don't want us to get into a situation where it happens just because we have a wrong book. I am not supportive of anything that is going to cause parents that are doing everything that they can to raise their children, whether it's a single parent or both parents, and they just happen to have children who have gotten with the wrong crowd or doing the wrong thing, whatever, having those parents arrested. I am not in favor of that at all. So, just so you know where I'm coming from. Now, if there are parents that are encouraging, aiding their children in criminal behavior, I'm all for holding those parents accountable. And those are the ones that I hope that we're all focusing our attention on. As far as the Georgia ordinance, I don't think it's necessary. I think we have law, at least one law on the books, which really covers that ordinance. It probably, in my opinion, does a better job of it. And unfortunately, I didn't bring a copy for everyone, but I could hand it to you and let you pass it around if you'd like. But that is called contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And basically what that law is, let's see if I can get all this stuff out.
if you get one,
Yeah.
you can make some copies.
Okay, let me get that out. It's the Georgia one. Here's the law. If I could just look at it for just a second, then I'll hand it to you. But it's 12-15-111 of the Alabama Code, and it's called contributing to the delinquency, dependency, or need of supervision of children. And it says it's unlawful for any parent, guardian, etc., to willfully aid, encourage, or cause any child to become or remain delinquent, dependent, or in need of supervision. It also talks about failure to requiring them to attend school regularly, the compulsory attendance law. So if a parent aids or abets in that behavior, they can be held accountable under this law as well. And this is a Class A misdemeanor. So in my opinion, that covers everything that we're wanting to do. And it also satisfies me that in order to hold a parent accountable under that section, we have to prove as a prosecutor that they encouraged, aided, just as an accomplice in a crime would do. So, you know, if a child is shoplifting and the parent's encouraging the child to do that, the parent can be held accountable. Such as the rave theater we were talking about. Some instances where parents have been told by police officers that you can't drop your children here without supervision, without a guardian, and the parents would go to the other entrance and drop their children off. In that circumstance, they could be held accountable. So I don't think there's a need for y'all to pass an ordinance. I think it just needs to be enforced under the current law that we have.
And relative to the rave theater, if I may, where's John or Chief? Is you want to chat about what we've actually implemented relative to taking the youth that are not doing what they're supposed to do and taking them into custody, but calling parents?
Absolutely. The author of that is Lieutenant Matthew. Matthew, just go ahead and those to council on that.
Yes, we came up with a plan, and the highlight of the plan was not to merely put parents or kids in jail. The primary concern was to solve the problem, because the kids been doing delinquent acts in the neighboring shopping centers, running across Taylor Road, Vaughn Road. It just became a hazard to the kids. So we came up with a plan, 3 steps. If you're there after the 6 o'clock, and we give them a 2-hour grace period, so really 8 o'clock, we have the transport vehicle who comes out from 7 to 11. And right now we're using the transport vehicle merely as a prop. First time, make contact with the kid lingering out there without a parent. We tell them verbally, you can't do this. This is the plan. If you trespass from this place for a year and your parent could end up in trouble, that's the prop that we use right now. And it's working beautifully. We've been using that, implementing that plan for the last 3 weeks, and it's been working excellent. Hadn't had to make any contact with any parents. We're just using that vehicle primarily right now as a prop. Now, if it goes beyond that, first encounter, you're trespassing the property, you're charged with trespassing, can't come back for a year. Second time, and then we make contact with the parents, hold them there, release them to the parent. Second time, we take them in custody, trespass them once more, make contact with the parent. Again, let them know, strongly urge that parent what's going to happen the third time. Third time, we find that the parent is letting that kid do that and is not milling on the kid, the parent could be held accountable. So we're trying to not go to that third, even the second steps. Right now, it's been working beautifully. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
And Mr. President, the other thing that I will add to that is that under this law, you do not actually have to prove that the child is delinquent. There is some case law that says as long as you can prove that the parent is encouraging or trying to aid the child in being delinquent, they can be held accountable under this section. I do want to mention while I'm here that I think we would be remiss if we didn't look for other alternatives. And I did want to bring Tim Anderson up. Tim is the director of our Montgomery Helping Families Initiative. And he's only been on the job less than a year, but he has made tremendous changes in the way we're doing things and what we're doing for families here in Montgomery. And he has an example of something that happened recently in family court that I think we could replicate with the city, if y'all want to join in with us on that, even situations prior to arresting someone. So do you want to share with that number?
Sure. Currently, our program is designed to partner up with Montgomery Public Schools with children who come to school with a number of issues that the school system is not equipped to handle. The school system is designed to obviously educate children, but they bring a number of issues there, and they cannot help a father get drug treatment, a mother with mental illness. They can't do all of that. And so our responsibility, once those children come to us, is to connect them with the agencies that already exist in Montgomery to help out. We had a case recently where one of our local judges in family court was trying to figure out what to do with the custodial arrangement of a couple who was having a divorce, and there was a truancy issue and some other behavior issues that she put in that order for the family that they needed to be referred to us. What we discovered is that the reason why the child wasn't going to school was because there were some issues in parenting skills. There were issues with the child. There were issues with the father, as it, I think, concerned some anger management issues. So what we were able to do was connect everybody in that house to services that helped. I think the emphasis that Daryl is making here is that there are alternatives, even in our office, where we can figure out what the issues are beyond some more punitive recommendations. And so that was our first case. We successfully helped the family, and we're open to doing more of that. Of course, that will require more time and more resources, but that's something that we would love to do, and to create a better opportunity for our families to be able to be successful without punitive issues.
How many referrals you get in the school system now? Is that where y'all come from?
It's in the thousands. Yeah.
Of course, what type of services do you offer? You offer employment, or you do anything just for the kids, or is it for the whole family, or what type of resources do you have?
It's literally for the whole family. So recently we've had cases where parents were just exasperated. Some of these issues that Mr. Mackey deals with, the parent has done all they can, and so we may connect them to, say, family guidance for parenting classes. Sometimes the parent says, I think my child is on drugs, and so we have the opportunity to connect them with drug counseling to get a drug test, and then help them to sort of re-enter back into the school. Any issue that anybody is having in the house, we can connect the service to help them.
Like, what if someone is out on the street panhandling and come to find out they're out there because of drugs, or they say, could you handle a situation like that?
We can. We are connected with agencies to discuss homelessness, job linkages, the development of skills so they can get a better job, or at least develop a resume to be able to put themselves an opportunity to have that.
Okay, what's the name of your organization?
Helping Montgomery Families Initiative.
It's in our budget. It's been in our budget, what, 5 years now?
Probably more than that.
We fund them at $125,000 level, joining with the county and the district attorney's office to staff that. Sandra Edwards used to be there. Tim has replaced Sandra within the last year or so, and our issue, not issue, but our situation has been we're doing good work keeping some of these kids from wandering through the DA's office, but we got to get a bigger number. We just don't have the volume there, and they work hand in glove with the truancy officers at the public school system.
And I might add that we have spent the summer negotiating with MPS and having more conversations about increasing those numbers. The issues are there, but getting those numbers into us has been the issue, and we have solved that, and those numbers are actually increasing dramatically.
We saw that at the end of the school year where the numbers really spiked, which is good. I mean, it's good and bad. It's good that we're able to help them. It's bad that we have that many. But one of the things that we're looking at, because this is a program we really believe is a game changer here in Montgomery, one of the things that we're going to launch in the very near future is a lot of these kids who are exposed to violence at such a young age. We have, on any given day in Montgomery, we may have 2 or 3 shootings. And a lot of those don't get, media attention or whatever, but there are kids a lot of times that witness those shootings, not just the homicides, but the shootings themselves. I was at a crime scene within the last month or so, and it was an apartment complex, and there was a body up on a hill that was covered in a sheet, and there were literally hundreds of people along the crime scene tape. A lot of them with their phones out, but what I noticed is how many kids were out there that were watching the police do their work, and the body and the family grieving, and all the stuff. And what I did is I went back and researched that, started looking into it, and what the research told me is that all these kids that are exposed to this type of violence, whether they had a family member that was killed, or whether they actually witnessed it, or they witnessed the after effects of it with the body laying there and the police doing all this, they are suffering from trauma which builds in them, and then they act out in some way. Whether it's at school, whether they stop attending school, or act up in school, or whether they actually go and act out and commit a crime of violence themselves. So we're partnering with Chief Finley, and we're gonna start a program through the Healthy Families Initiative where we're gonna get some trauma therapy to these young people that are witnessing these crimes of violence in hopes that it will curb behavior problems in the future. So that's another thing that we're looking at doing. I think it's gonna have a tremendous impact on youth crime and youth misbehavior.
I don't know if it's the right time to bring it up, but I've been getting calls about the panhandling. You know, when we passed it, I know we kind of rushed through it, it just came up at the end of the council. And I think it took, one of the penalties is that those individuals will go, you know, get jail time for panhandling. And what I was thinking was, and I was going to bring it up, that maybe, you know, prior to it, maybe we can have some steps where it could be referred to Helping Montgomery Family Initiative. For example, if you pull a guy over and he's panhandling and he says, well, I don't have a job or I need food to eat. Instead of locking them up, maybe they can go to, you know, to you all, and since it's already going through MPS, maybe that's another instance where they can be referred and then they can be helped. And then once again, if they're habitual offenders, then maybe jail time, but I don't think that jail time should be the event that somebody's on drugs or somebody's, you know, simply don't have any food to eat, or they have mental health issues. So, I mean, a lot of them could be out there begging because they have mental health issues, and then maybe we need to refer them, as opposed to, I think the ordinance was just one page, and I think basically, you know, it just basically fines jail time. And I think it's incomplete, and maybe we need to go back and revisit it and look at maybe putting a process in that they referred to Helping Montgomery Family Initiative, since they're already working with the MPS anyway, and generally the MPS would be the first point of contact with these panhandlers anyway. So that's something that I'm putting.
MPD would, but not MPD.
I'm sorry, MPD.
See, the reality of all this.
Well, MPS
Correct me
do
if I'm
something.
wrong. Most of your referrals are coming out of the school system.
Yeah, Councilman, I think we got a little confusion here.
So it's just out of the school system?
No, it's not just out of the school system, but this program that we're talking about here is dealing with kids. Okay, so we deal with the whole family unit, but the priority is with the kids. That's what this program. Now, we do have pretrial diversion, which can help with those type of things that you're talking about. I don't know if the city has a similar program or not for municipal court, but I know with circuit court we have pretrial diversion. We would not mind at all contracting with the city in some form or fashion to provide those services of our pretrial diversion program for municipal cases. Our recidivism rate with pretrial diversion is about 6%, which means that 94% of the people that come through and complete that program never get in trouble. And they do offer mental health treatment.
And what I'm saying is that I think instead of just locking people up, and I don't know if you all received any calls about it. I know I got a lot of calls about it. I think that maybe those individuals could be helped first instead of just simply, you know, you got a lot of people sitting out there say they will work for food, but you know, you try to give them a job, they don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, so what I'm saying is,
I just don't think it's that program.
I think this would be a different. Give you an example though, I think if you go back and talk to the DA about what's really going on with mental health people, and how much trouble we've got in the city for the mental health and the ill people that are doing the panhandling. They're doing a lot of different things, but they're rotating through our emergency rooms, rotating through our jails. I mean, our police, our sheriff, district attorney are all dealing with it all the time, and the hospitals are dealing with it too, because the mental health system is, in my opinion, broken, because there's no place to keep these people and keep them in a situation where they could be medicated properly. So I'd rather put in the streets and say, take care of your medication, when they get off the medications, they go right back to where they
I agree, and mental health is just one facet of it. You got some people just plain lazy, you got some that would generally work if they had, you know, a job. So what I'm saying is, instead of incarceration, shouldn't we at least have an assessment period to try to determine, or at least try to provide help to those individuals instead of straight incarceration?
Well,
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Different subjects.
I mean, different for them. I'm talking maybe on
we talk about children and making sure that children in curfew, whatever we were talking about from Mr. Pruitt's time. Mr. Pruitt, you have a question?
Miss Graham can go first, and I'll go. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask. You talked about MPS not being the only entry level for the program. can someone in the community, like, if I have a neighbor and I see that she's struggling with her child, he may be getting in a little trouble in school, but he's staying under the radar not enough, but at home, she noticed the crowd he's hanging out with and that type of stuff. Can she just call the program? Is that how that works?
Yeah,
Trying to get her son in there?
absolutely.
Okay.
And that happens all the time.
We would rather get to them before they get into trouble as opposed to waiting until they get in trouble. So yeah, we take referrals like that all the time.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I have a question. About the ordinance, Daryl, from Georgia. I understand holding the good parents accountable. I get all that. Spoke to some friends that we know mutually that have had these problems. But just the other day, I heard on the news, and Chief Finley and John are here, we arrested an 18-year-old and two 16-year-olds for breaking in cars. Let's just say, for example, and I don't know their background, they've been arrested 2, 3, 4 times before that. How do you consider that out at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, a parent not knowing where their child is, but yet they're doing all they can do? But how are you doing this aiding and abetting? How do you figure that out?
Well, I mean, that could be. I mean, it depends on the circumstance. I mean, you know, some are obviously more clear cut. If you have the parent right there as the child's committing the crime, let's say it's on video, they're bringing the parent the stuff that they're shoplifting, or the parent's providing the young person a gun to go commit a crime, those are real clear cut. Everything else is just going to be up to the police department to investigate it, just like they would any other case, to determine if there's culpability on the part of a parent in this situation.
That's part of what I just said earlier in the beginning, is we've got to take another step in an investigation to be able to get them the documentation, the evidence, so they can make the determination of prosecution.
Then how do we do that? For example, those 18 and 2 16-year-olds. How do we do that as a police department? What steps do we do to see if there's just negligence? I guess that's the word I'm looking for.
Well,
how do we do that?
I think Darryl just hit it, is that we've taken another step forward and to do additional interview for culpability and to really get into that house. So I think that we are moving in that right direction. Part of that investigation with those 3 individuals is that we were doing follow-ups, and we're still doing follow-ups for adults that are that may be implicated in this. So part of that too, we want to look at the adults and take it, the parents take another step. So this is great information for us to move forward, and so we just want to kind of slow down that process before we close that case out and kind of look at that household for that to see if we can tie the parents into any of the proceeds that
And our first response, even in those cases, is going to be to try to help that parent, whether it be through parenting classes, you know, if we need to refer them to HMFI or whatever, as opposed to trying to lock somebody up. If they're willing to get the help, then I think that solves everybody's issue. If we can help them and get them the help so that we're not back in a situation with the younger child or the next child or whatever. You know,
But you know as well as I do that every single child that's running the streets at night, all 100% of the parents ain't loving and wonderful parents. And somebody needs to be made an example of. I mean, I understand it. I think it's awesome we're doing this. But I'm at a point in my life, you ought to know where your child is at night. Point blank. Point blank. And until we make, I think we, y'all, or whoever, make an example of that one that doesn't, they're going to continue not to care.
Well, I'm all in favor of holding any parent accountable that is complicit in their child committing crime.
Yes.
I'm at 100%. I think they need to be locked away.
The one that takes your kid to rob the store.
Absolutely.
The thing I agree with you, and I agree with you, but I mean, when you get in a situation where your kid, like you're talking about the 16-year-old, he's repeatedly getting in trouble, is the parent got to stay up all night and watch his kid, tie him up, stick him in a closet, or
Why can't you do it? You had a child. It's your responsibility to know where that kid is. I don't care what anybody tells me.
Well, Pruitt, let me tell you.
Y'all lost y'all's mind.
Some parents that work for, some parents that take care of kids, they didn't watch it. They let their kid that would go out and just stay out and just be disobedient. So you can't walk that
I can't participate. All right.
I was gonna say, Pruitt, I see it, but
So
it's
maybe we can talk about this all that. One question. You know where your question is going on one question.
The problem with the program, we
you know, you're my good friend. One of the problems I have, listen, if you get let's use the word kid, so are you talking from 18 or 19, what are you talking about?
Under juvenile.
Oh, I mean, you could be talking.
I'm sorry, you said the word kid.
17 and under.
Anyone that's under the jurisdiction of the juvenile court.
That's my question. How are we as a city is going to have any jurisdiction to deal with anything that happens within the juvenile court? I don't know how we can. We are saying that the parent goes to the municipal court.
No.
I don't think you can do that.
I know, but I'm saying our ordinance, we as a city, we don't have any jurisdiction over the juvenile court. So you ask the juvenile court to do something that the juvenile court doesn't have. The juvenile court don't have any jurisdiction. The juvenile court don't have any jurisdiction to me to punish someone criminally for criminal conduct of a child.
But they contributed, they saying they contributed to the delinquent. So if they're contributing, then they're active participants. This is not that they bring them on. If they're not contributing,
if it's contributing,
but if you contribute, then
you get that person, you get that, if you in conspiracy, then you get that person for conspiracy. You don't need to punish a parent for the mistake. I don't think anybody here has done everything that their parents want them to do.
I think you're right that way. But it's not punishing the parent has been held accountable for their actions.
When you're taking someone liberty from them,
they're not trying to. They're trying
to understand the ordinance. No, I don't understand the ordinance because what we are doing is proposing.
We got this figured out.
My 15-year-old's in the car right now.
Appreciate it all the information.
No, it's
You know, if you got a question, you know where to go get it. You got the answer, okay? Yes, sir.
Can I just prolong this for 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
And ask a question that has real relevance, and that is, what do you think about the youth curfew? That's an issue that has been recurring in this city and many other cities for a number of years. You have a good deal of opposition to any idea, any proposition for youth curfew in this city. Just recently, the city of Tuscaloosa revisited youth curfew that's been on the books for years, but they have not aggressively enforced it. But now they are saying they're going to have more aggressive enforcement. Is something like a youth curfew and your research and looking at what other best practices in other cities, is that something that could be useful as a tool in the kit for law enforcement to try to make a difference in some of the authoritative behavior of some of the youth?
I don't know the answer to that because I haven't really looked at that and how successful that has been in other jurisdictions. So I don't know the answer to that question. No.
Okay.
I just don't know the answer.
Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate you.
But I do want to, if I could, clarify that if a parent falls under this state code section, they are actually under the jurisdiction of the juvenile court. So they would go to juvenile court just like, which is circuit court, just like any other.
Have we ever done that to a parent before?
Yeah.
You there?
Would you get done too, Aldridge? You're in court too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Expert on the panel here. That's good.
But again, it's situations where we can prove that a parent was complicit in their child committing criminal behavior.
And that comes from the city.
Yeah.
We've got to take, just as you said, we got to take that extra step to go interview at the family and at the parent level. It's very difficult. It can't be circumstantial.
Right.
You better take on your first case where it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Set that example.
Okay.
Like a drove.
Sure,
Right.
there's been situations where a parent is at the ropes in, they tried everything they do with their child.
I get all that.
Is there a situation where they say, I need y'all to come take him up? There's nothing else I can do. He needs some hard love or something. Is there any program like that kind of situation?
No.
We do get calls like that.
Once he gets arrested, I guess.
Yeah, what we try to do in those situations is try to get helping families involved. I mean, they have worked some miracles before with kids that parents believe we're incorrigible and just not gonna. But yeah, I mean, Tim can tell you, I mean, you get those calls on a frequent.
We get those all the time,
Yeah.
and our responsibility is to find the problem. And we have a very 95% success rate with finding the problem and then getting the people in the family the things and resources they need so they don't have that situation. We do this all the time.
Good that y'all
And
know
that's-
about helping, I don't think anybody knows about helping families before today and talking about it, and you know about that.
And that's good, right, in this program, because prior to this, if they called juvenile court and they said, look, my child was cutting up, ungovernable, it's the very first time, they send them to counseling. They won't bring them in, they won't keep them, they won't do any of that, they have to go through a long process before even before they get to a judge, or maybe get a probation
Come on, y'all
officer.
say good work.
So
Y'all say we have to go. Come
All
on.
right,
this program helps.
thank you.
See y'all need me holler.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the, Michael, you here? Talk about the, vice chair thing. All right, Michael, tell us about the vice chair section.
This step right here is for the 11 right-of-way easements that are needed to construct the bike share stands at locations throughout throughout downtown Montgomery. Each of those locations have been vetted by 5 to 6 city departments, Montgomery Water Works and Sanitary Sewer Board. In 2 instances, we did need to move the locations. One was to a different location at Old Alabama Town. Another was from inside the alley to over on Commerce Street. I also want to give to you pictures that have been updated. We could start one in yours, one in that direction as well. 3 locations that are different from what was in your packet. Once you give your blessing to this location, we will be able to start a hard countdown to the initiation of bike share in Montgomery.
What process did you use in determining locations or sites of the shows?
We went to ones where we thought that it would stimulate either locations that were right there by the bike stand. In some instances, we were able to refer back to documents that the Montgomery Bicycle Club had sent to us in years past saying, this is where we think would be a good location. Also, there were ADA compliance issues that said we had to use this location instead of one across the street. The mayor toured all of the sites and vetoed some early on to say that's just unsafe, specifically the one near the State House that would have required cyclists to be in the area of heavy traffic.
Why don't you go through the 11, just, use the map, just to talk. Sometimes it's hard to look at this map, but the general location, where they've selected, with some help of the expert, the providers of the bike, is where people might want to take a bike and to leave it there and go on to somewhere else or do other things.
Sure. Wright Brothers Park is right there on Maxwell Boulevard by the Aeronaut Pavilion. The intermodal bus station is by the parking lot. It just makes sense, especially for people who might have transportation issues, to ride a bike, get off there at the intermodal, and then be able to take the bike closer to where their ultimate destination is. The Renaissance Hotel parking lot, that's self-explanatory. It's a magnet for tourists, especially people who might be coming from communities where bike share is already located. In fact, that was a location that was requested by one of the sponsors, Baptist Health. Riverwalk Stadium again, we're hopeful that people might decide, hey, let me ride a bike to a Biscuits game or not. The alley on Commerce Street, again, a tourist magnet. The Rosa Parks Museum, that's got the blessing of the chancellor over at Rosa Parks to come there, and that's right there in front of, across the street from the Davis Theater, and then halfway down the block. Press Building on Dexter Avenue. We've got the blessing of the organization that's formerly known as Marjan. The RSA parking deck on Monroe Street, that's actually City Hall. We had a sponsor that was interested in making sure that City Hall was one of the locations. Kiwanis Park at Old Alabama Town, that's been adjusted. We were initially looking to go inside Kiwanis Park, but both Development and Parks and Recreation voiced some objections, so we selected a location that's on Columbus Street. We've got the blessings of Old Alabama Town. They're very excited about how having a bike stand location in proximity could stimulate visits there. First White House of the Confederacy is right near the State House. Concrete pad was poured over an area that was grassy because you needed a concrete pad to place the bike stand on top of it. And then Julian Hampton Morgan Memorial Library is definitely excited about anything that might add added patron usage of the library.
Very good. Any questions? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2 is the review of consent and the show cause hearing.
We sent an email in.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of stuff. We've got new panic bars coming on the privacy fence area where the people last came in over. So we got the panic bars in today, so we're gonna raise that level up to 6 feet, which is the maximum of the fire department. So we got the panic bars. She went to court with me on.
We went to the military hearing, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if anybody has seen the video of these incidents, but none of these people who have pulled their weapons at the shack have actually been patrons of the establishment. As a matter of fact, I think the reason that the last incident occurred was because the individual who fired the rounds was actually refused entrance to the establishment just before he opened fire. I haven't had a lot of time to investigate this. I was just brought in today. I'm Amanda Cook. I'm an attorney here in Montgomery, representing the shack. And so I did attend the military hearing though, and you know, they're willing to lift the bar. Basically, they're just waiting for some paperwork from us. I don't really think it's not gonna be an issue once we get that into them. You know, the violence, I mean, I just don't think we can blame business owners really for what's going on.
We understand, I understand in the conversation I've had with the violence is dropped.
Yes, sir, it has. And we got new management too, and 3 new employees.
Yeah, I did get an email, or a copy of an email yesterday. Did I understand from the email that you have changed ownership?
No, sir, I'm still the owner, but I have, under this new management that we have right now, the intent will be, once we get this all resolved, is to change over and let the new management take over the business.
You know, when you do that,
You gotta redo
things. I've had our police department pull the record since the last issue, and we've had 3 occurrences there, and so that's a substantial decrease in that. I do think that we can hold management responsible for whatever's on your property and whatever is in your property.
Well, that's why I changed that.
We don't hold, give that credibility. But what I would suggest, this is a show cause hearing, what I would suggest is that you allow them to retain their license and continue to review over the next few months. And if there's any spike in the activities, if we investigate and they have culpability, then we'll bring it back to the city council for additional.
Okay. Any question?
What are y'all's hours again?
Where we target Conde Plant, Moses, and we have a lot of those type people come in. So they come in to eat a real meal at 1 o'clock. That's when they get off work. That's their 5 o'clock.
In the morning.
In the morning, that's their 5 o'clock. And that's why other people that we don't want in there, they see the people in there that are just having a good time, not wanting to create trouble, and then they're trying to target them. But they're not our patients. They're not our patrons.
All right.
They're not our customers.
I believe we've established that we'll bring it back to review in 6 months and or quicker if we see something happen. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
if I may, we've had our police coming to me to seek assistance in some other situations
we've got one that this year we've had 206 calls for service. We had two incidents this weekend where we found 45 to 50 shell casings at that particular location. And so what I would like is to have a show cause hearing placed on the agenda for Sky Bar, which is at 3627 Davy Drive, which is behind the Ford dealership there. This is one that our place has been having some challenges with, and they would like it to close down. I think it would be your district.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had, I say several meetings, but with the neighborhood association over the G Place, we went over there, we met with them, and then we met with the church next to them. Then there was another business too, so it was just recently, about a couple months ago, that we were actually talking to them. We didn't talk to the Sky Bar people, and the most recent incident was that it wasn't the Sky Bar, it was a video that they were filming out in the parking lot, but they all agreed to meet there, and I think some incidents occurred there. So I've been talking with them, but I agree with you. It has been escalated since the first time we met with them, so it has been over the past few months to start to escalate, so I'm okay with it.
So what you would do is do a call for show calls.
Show cause. Okay.
Is that have to be brought up at the meeting?
I need an official letter from you requesting.
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
So 2 and 3 we're just gonna carry over, or?
Well, I'm not sure how you do it.
I think you just carried over 6 months.
You gonna do 6 or 3?
Do 3 months. That's 2 months. Okay.
6, you gonna run into a new
What is
council.
carried- Huh?
6, you gonna run into a new council.
And somebody else.
You ready to? Let's
Well,
just
that's
do
what I'm
3 months and see what we do, okay?
Hey, Charlie, if we're talking about restaurants, I got an email about some Mexican restaurant or something. How about Hyundai Plaza?
Brenda doesn't know anything about it.
No, that's okay.
Never mind.
Were you here on July the 2nd meeting?
That was a one-time festival.
You approved it. You approved the special event on July the 2nd in the county.
We won't do that again.
And let's just say this right now.
Okay.
The sheriff approved that deal before we got to us.
It's a county.
It's a county issue. Anybody ask any questions, it's a county issue. If the county doesn't want it, we don't want it, so. And you know what, our situation with PJ is that if we accept the responsibility, we've gotta put the police officers out there to protect it, but we don't wanna do that. And the sheriff agreed to do this thing, it's on the sheriff and the county commission, not on ours.
Well, we did send a note in from Connie Tyson to call to say that, Matt Gibson, we didn't like that.
Oh, yeah, that's good, yeah. But this is, we need to let the sheriff,
Yeah.
his district. Okay, item number 4.
They have paid in full.
They paid in full, all right.
We got to, do another resolution declaring them.
Okay. So what do we do with this now?
You'll adopt number 4.
Huh?
You'll adopt number 4 because it
Adopt
says
number
they're in
four,
compliance.
Okay. Number 5 and 6.
5 is the show cause hearing, and this is the non-payment of taxes,
Okay.
and they haven't contacted us.
Have a contact, okay, we'll pass that. And then on the, Air Academy,
They're paid in full.
they paid in full.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8.
Number 8 does not have a business license.
Okay.
Number 9 does not have a business.
I think, fresh, I remember on the ones that they're open and operating today, like 8, 9, as a business without a business license. So we're about to approve this. And once that approved, what, you and the police department go put it?
The mayor signs the ordinance, is given to finance, they go out and physically do the close. And we just got to one yesterday where they took the police with them, because at that point it's a police issue, not a finance department.
So we physically shut them down, and they like,
We go out, post the thing on the door. I would like to, at some point, look into maybe actually being able to lock the chain.
I thought we did pay.
We don't have the ability to do that?
The county can do it, but we don't.
We need to get that.
why not?
We need to let the police
We
department
did it in the
padlock.
past.
I thought we did, yeah.
I think we have.
It's not an ordinance.
Okay, well, please bring it to us.
Police, use your discretion.
Hand lockers. All right, number 10. Liquor license, that's you.
Yeah, I can't figure out what this was. This picture they have on here is not the service station there. When I looked at the service station, looked it up, it was showing the service station, so I got confused on where is this?
Yes. Where is it?
Right, I got confused, because when I looked the address up, I thought it was the service station. But they found a picture of the service station, I don't know what that's a picture of, I couldn't quite see.
It, I think the picture's wrong.
What sign? You see the sign number?
You're supposed to have a sign.
It's on Friday.
But this is a business, not the service station, so why would they put the sign at the business and not the service station?
That's the service station. Now, when you look at that,
The map.
Trade Center Street, that's where your food, you got a food bank there, in that street. And then that corner of the subway, and then that,
It's right next to the subway.
Yeah.
The service station.
Same guy owns both.
Yeah, but that's not this. What is this? Where is this?
I don't know where that picture come from.
I know, that's why I got confused. So
you're right.
I need to know where it is. I don't.
It's that gas station right next to the subway. It's a full gas station.
This don't look like the same building. Unless
It's not the same building.
unless they took it from without canopy.
No,
If
it's
they
not.
could have took it anyway, that ain't it.
Okay, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but
Wrong
when
bad
he get here,
picture.
we'll find out for certain. If I can't find out, we'll carry it on.
All right, number 11. This is, I've never seen, this is a wholesale liquor license?
Yes, sir. 11 and 12 both are wholesale.
Huh?
11 and 12 both are the same company, wholesale.
What is it? And this is located,
It's out at Lagoon Boulevard,
Lagoon
that
Park.
commercial.
It's across from the park, in that commercial center, across from the bypass. It's a huge company. It's got distributes in 8 states, about $1 billion sales.
big company.
I don't know if this is true, because it doesn't show in the notes, it looks like it's a change in ownership. Because they've been operating before.
Yeah.
That's what it appears.
All right, yeah, owners are New Orleans.
Is this some kind of special classification of liquor distributors? I mean, I thought the SC would have them with the wholesale. It's legal for other people to wholesale liquor now?
You've got one, Montgomery distributing company, they've got several different, primarily military bases.
This may be a military, maybe business.
It's a military base.
We'll ask them a question when we come in. Okay? All right. Number 12. That's another one, same thing. What's the difference? Just one retail, one wholesale.
No.
One's wholesale,
What's the difference?
marijuana here, and the other one's wholesale liquor.
Liquor license and wholesale.
Yeah, wholesale liquor and wholesale beer wine. Okay. All right, number 13 is the line you and your person. And then tear them down on the three tear down today. And then we got the new demolition here. And then number 14 is 14 and 15, 16. Okay. Get those maybe you can get those with you, okay? All right, Bill Gerard. Bill, you here?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, Bill. All right. I'm gonna ask each one of you to take a copy of this, and I'm gonna say up front, and I'm not here representing ACC today. I'm representing Dr. Chad Cooper Company on Broadway. He had planned to be here today, but had to go back to Birmingham. Today, did you get one?
May I have one? Thank you.
Here.
Now, this play is going to be here
August 18th, and this is just for your information. He will be here to speak for himself at the next meeting, and I just wanted to give you that information.
You'll be at David Theater on the 18th of
On the 18th of August. I saw it at the Montgomery, and on June 30th, they had those 3,000 people there. They want each one of the council persons to be responsible for getting youth to attend. We have adults, but we want to get youth involved. It's called Justice on Trial, Black Lives Matter Too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Doug McCants.
Yes, I think, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna go through this really fast, so you don't hold up and waste your time or take up too much time. I'm here because the council has not put any teeth into some of the ordinances that affect neighborhoods. There have been horror stories about it. People have 7-foot fences, supposed to have 3.5 by law. You've got mechanics running businesses out of the house and threatening neighbors if they turn them in, etc. I have a problem with a recreational vehicle that's supposed to be substantial by the public view. Still there, been there for the last nearly 15 years. Paula Richardson, who works for planning, sends out 4 letters, cease and desist. The only thing about it is, one of those letters is certified mail. They all come back because the first 2, they already know about it. So this goes on sometimes for years before people, get anything done. I was fortunate on one incident to get Regina, who was at Bonds before she left. She got a policeman to serve. We need a person or persons to do that also. This affects the quality of life as well as property values. People just can't do anything they want to do in this neighborhood. There's no point in having these ordinances if you don't put any teeth in them. Mobile has environmental code.
Let me just put this back. You said the council doesn't put any teeth in it, and you just came back and said that a few minutes ago that they are violating the ordinances. So what do you want the council? The council is not the one who do the execution. It's the mayor. It's the executive council can't direct the police to go out there and do it. We don't have that authority.
Well, let me explain something to you. I'll give you some instances. In 2016, there were 175. 2018, there were 172. I don't have figures for 17. 2019, so far 150 letters.
Are you talking about
54 letters come back.
Are you talking about a certain address?
I'm talking about letters that were sent out to violators and they come back.
Okay.
And you say that you don't have any.
Mr. Jenwright, I have a question though. On certified mail, and Brenda just said I'm correct. If we send a copy of a certified letter, that is their notice, whether they go sign for it or not. The letters can come back all day long, but they've been notified.
Well, they send a 2 letters. They send a certified plus a regular letter.
That it? Kim, is that right?
No, that's not right. No, because suppose the person in the hospital is supposed
You're
to
not an attorney for the city, though.
No,
Fred.
yeah, but I'm a council member here.
We do things different.
Well, probably the reality of it is people vacate the property.
Well,
Abandon the property.
not necessarily. What's happening here is this. When people get these notices, yeah, some people can be in the hospital, but for 3 and 4 years, I don't think so. But the point I'm making is that these people cannot be served summonses by mail. I guess they could if the city and the ordinance, the council would designate so. But the point is, there's a job here for a person. The county does it. Other cities have what they call the environmental code, but some of these issues are very environmental as well as criminal. But as I said, Birmingham has an environmental code. Mobile has one. I don't know about Huntsville, but if we have one, but we are not serving these people. These people are not getting served. If you had a person that was serving these summonses to the violators, then they would show up in court. The service person would get paid for their
property gets fined.
All y'all can't help.
Their property gets fined. There's a violation, their property gets fined. They can go to pay their property taxes, they gotta pay that.
No, sir, you're talking about abatements. I'm talking about people who just absolutely refuse.
They break an ordinance.
Let's ask the expert.
Well, there's 2 different issues here. There's the notice letters that go to them that are sent out by them, but then if they take them to court, a summons may be issued, and I don't know if they're Ken's got bailiffs that serve the summons for court appearances, I just don't know.
The county does, but we don't do it. I'm telling you, this has been going on here. These people are not being served.
Thomas, would you chat with us about the process? Let's take the one about having an RV that's in view, that's a violation of the city ordinance. Would your people be the ones to be looking at that and putting in citations?
Not with the RV, no, sir, that would be a land use, that would be with Mr. Tyson.
What? Okay. Junk cars, Tyson?
I've gone through.
Junk cars we removed.
Give me another example. Give me another example.
I get junk cars removed.
No.
Well, how about, why not just say what a person, the ordinance says the RV is supposed to be substantial.
No, but he's not the RV.
This been sitting there for years though.
I understand.
They've got letters and letters,
I'm trying
understand
to
that?
find the gentleman that would be responsible for that.
I reported to code enforcement this morning just to see if I can try some other evidence because we're not getting anywhere through a plan. There are all these letters in return. These people still violating the law.
How do you know that?
Because I've inquired. I've been after this for several years now.
Maybe, okay.
This is nothing new. I'm the president of the Harbor City Residents Association. I've got many cars, abandoned cars removed and settled. I've been through that whole thing.
Jerry?
So I do this all the time. And if I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't know.
So you said there's an RV that's been there 15 years that is in violation and we as the city haven't done anything.
Chris?
We sent letters.
Conway?
The inspectors were out there one time and said they were not in violation.
This come under you or?
No, it's under Matt.
Matt?
I'm looking at Desmond. Tommy's not here today.
Desmond, but let's have somebody, Desmond talk to him, okay? Desmond, take care of it.
I told anybody, I've been talking for years.
Okay.
Let's say something
I'm curious.
I just want to see some enforcement, gentlemen.
Here's what I'm saying. After you talk to him, I'm curious because you're not the only one where issues like this happen all the time and nothing seems to get done. And they know how to skirt the law and keep extending it, and it seems that it goes on for years. So after you talk to him, if you can either let me know or something. I mean, I would like to know exactly what's being done.
Desmond,
you're not the only one that I've seen this.
Are you up to speed on that, or is that something we need to get?
We'll just meet and get with Mr. Tyson.
But you're not capable of.
Come back and tell us.
Those may not be, I don't think those are summons though, I think
Tell us
those
what
might
it
be
is.
notices from them.
Court summons.
Yeah, but the question is, how does he get into the environmental court? How does he get there?
By serving the summons.
They can go down there and make a complaint, and if it's a violation.
Who's they?
A citizen.
Like he can.
I do it all the time, but nobody serves the violator.
It's an issue.
They're not getting served.
But you've never been before the Board of Adjustment.
We got,
I think the problem is not the letters being sent out. Planning controls for enforcement is gonna send a letter. But if the person doesn't choose to come to court, then that's when the summons would need to be delivered. I think there could be possibly a need for more resources in being able to deliver those. And that may be something that we should, we were even talking about in planning controls. There may be a need to strengthen the ordinance. It is hard to enforce, especially if it's a state tax sale property, because it has to go to the owner. The owner has to show up at court, the state, you have to.
There's a state tax sale.
So it's for things where people are doing things out of zoning, things that aren't in compliance with zoning, if they're operating a repair shop, for example. So it may be worth a conversation on how we could make it more effective. And it's really the way the law is. It's not the city staff not being effective. Part of it's hard to enforce what plan. Where housing codes can immediately comply nuisance property, it's not the same way. But there is another problem, I think, with just having the resources to, when people don't show up to court, how do you find them, track them down, and get them into court? If they never come to court, there's never going to be a resolution.
That's
What
not
happens if they don't come to court?
an environmental court issue.
No, it is.
That's for traffic tickets and everything else. I mean,
They don't come
just
to
like
court.
There's just some people that are not gonna show up for court and,
Then that fine.
Then there's a warrant outstanding on it.
well,
but
then
we
they
don't
have to
s-
serve it.
But
Then we get back to our-
we don't set the terms for service. go to court. The city council doesn't do it, that's it by.
The court system does it.
The court system.
But
But I don't want him to leave.
But I agree that the court needs to assign a servant.
Yeah, I think we're doing him a not a disservice. He has two issues. One issue is saying with the violation.
Yes.
All right? But the other issue is that once a violation is noted, then there is what we say, nothing, it remains the same. So what you were saying is, what he's saying is that, all right, you gotta do better, more policing, not policing, I don't want to use policing, but, we need somebody, I don't know who goes out and looks at these violations.
When the inspectors go out.
Oh, the inspector. But after the inspector writes it up.
Let me ask you this, you said there's 170 of them?
Return letters.
Return letters.
154 so far this year. There were
Then
172 in 2018. There were 172 letters returned in 2018, and so far this year, there are already 154. And that boxes is this stuff down there.
Claire, those will never serve stuff, they'll never be brought to justice.
I just think the struggle is you have to have somebody receiving the notice that's willing to comply and to come to court. A lot of times the same thing doing these things they're bad actors necessarily, they're not.
Okay, so they're not gonna adhere to law no matter what.
And that's not everybody, but that's the problem.
Majority of these.
Some people comply.
But majority of these that didn't do it, they were in defiance of the law. Is that correct?
It's these long-term violators that makes it.
I mean, you're saying they're not going to adhere to law.
Perhaps what we should do is maybe do a little research with the entities that are experts that aren't here today and come back and tell you what.
Come back and tell us the rest of the story, okay? I'd like to know, if we got folks going through the tracks like this, they need to go to jail. Thanks, sir. Okay. Fred Gray Jr. Fred Gray
Mr. Mayor and members of the council.
You addressed the council member, I appreciate that. Everybody else came up, said Mr. Mayor and the President. They said nothing about the council, thank you. You know you're Fred, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good catch, Fred.
That's right. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you for just a few moments. As some of you know, I'm an attorney here in Montgomery, and let me just tell you that my dad, Fred Gray, says hello. Not here as an attorney, but I'm here as the chairman of the board of a nonprofit called Alabama Omega Foundation. Alabama Omega Foundation has as its thrust education and scholarships in upbuilding primarily African American young men. We want to thank you, first of all, for helping us to launch our initial golf tournament that helps to fund many of our activities. Some 5 years ago, and I haven't bothered you since then. But I'm here now because we have a very important initiative that is set for this coming Saturday. It's our 4th annual Mentoring to Manhood Retreat. And what we do with young men, ages 13 to 18 years old, is we get them together. We have group sessions, we have interactive, challenging sessions with them, everything from preparing yourself for college, trade school, the real world, everything from that to having 1 or 2 men who have actually been in the system, the criminal justice system, who have come out of the system and who talk to these young men about how to make wise decisions and how to avoid going where they have been. This year, for the first time, we are putting into the agenda a trip to the Equal Justice Initiative Memorial for Peace and Justice. And that really is what brings me to you today. We're here to request some assistance, financial assistance, in the amount of $2,500 that will help us to defray the costs of the Equal Justice Initiative event, as well as transportation round trip from Alabama State, which is where this will be conducted, to downtown and then back. I'll tell you a lesson that I learned the first year, and that is to not have this event in the county if I want to get any municipal assistance. Mayor, it's strange to talk to you there. And so we are here.
Do you have it this weekend?
Yes, it is this weekend, and I know it's a short.
That's a short time.
I know.
How many events are you talking?
80 is what we're planning for. Yeah.
We can't get some money to you by then.
Well, we can pay afterwards.
You can pay later.
Yeah, we can pay later.
You can pay money later.
He uses his credit card.
Hey, you use your credit card.
That is
Use
true.
dad's credit card, then we go.
Well, no, I'm gonna use my own. These last about.
Picking on your daddy would not let you do that.
And this is a flyer. I have a letter that I prepared for the mayor and council. I don't want to sound like the boy that said the dog ate my homework. But my file is sitting on my desk in my Tuskegee office. And but I do have the credentials or the information that shows that we're a nonprofit as well as a government.
And you have been vetted, right? You received money from us before?
Yes,
We've given it before.
Yes.
Question, does Equal Justice give a eleemosynary discount?
No. No. Not, well, put it like this. When I spoke with someone today, they said they don't give any group discounts. That's the only question we actually.
But if the church went, they would not, or youth group?
No, sir. No, sir. There's a possibility of that going to the memorial. Maybe there's something that can be done, but as a rule, no discount. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, we'll think about it. Anybody got any money left?
I'm sorry?
We need his paperwork because he's not on our list. And I told him that earlier.
Okay, you got.
I think y'all give him before
Yeah.
we drew the line in the sand.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna give her the, okay.
Give that to us, we'll take care of it.
All right, thanks so much. And should I know it's not a choice, but should I attend the city council meeting? Is that
You're gonna speak to the same group about the same issue?
right?
Yeah, this is it.
All right, just maybe that you may have some other people that
might, in the audience might want to talk about it, not with, this is where you went from.
yes, sir, I understand that.
There may be somebody else that may change our mind. So, you gotta hear now, you
Oh, no, this is it.
some cowboy might come out and ask for
Positive
something.
thinking.
I'll go and get one if that helps. I'll go and get one.
Who in the cowboy?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
I don't think we got anything else to cover at this point.
I have
Yes,
I have in my hands documentation for 13 checks that have been issued to various school entities, not the central office, that are outstanding from 6 to 18 months. And we would like to counsel them and replenish your account for that. And I wanted to pass out to those that have got these and to get a positive feedback by writing on this document that yes, I agree to have the checks stopped and the money repaid to me.
Good.
And so without calling any names, I'll pass out to those that have these. The youngest one is 6 months old and the oldest one is 18 months old.
Okay.
So,
The check's not good for 18
No,
months anyway,
it's
is it?
exactly, isn't it? It went, never got to say.
That means Mr. Pruitt's rich.
It's all mine, clear.
and, oh, I forgot to tell you, no, we're gonna repopulate the mayor.
All right, anybody got anything else? Adjourn.
Give me those back.